If you're suffering from anxiety, there's one question I want you to ask yourself. Do I trust myself? It's as simple as that. I remember when I first heard that question, phrased within the context of anxiety, I realized I didn't trust myself. And I realized that in itself was where a lot of my anxiety was coming from. Anxiety is not something that you can cure on its own. Maybe it's not something you can cure at all, but I know that you can't cure it on its own. You can't just say, I'm going to get rid of my anxiety. You need to figure out the world in which your anxiety is existing. And I know that for me, one of the things that really helped me with my anxiety was figuring out that I didn't trust myself and then asking myself why. And I realized one of the reasons why was that there was various situations, there was various interactions I was having with people in which I knew that there was something that they wanted from me. Whether it was in a work situation, in a friendship, in a relationship situation, in which I didn't trust myself to be true to myself and say what I truly felt or what I truly needed in the situation. So I felt all this anxiety, and it makes complete sense because there's a part of me that knows what I want, and then there's a part of me that knows that the people-pleasing part of me is going to completely go against that and make me do something that I don't want to do. I'm literally putting myself in danger because I don't want to say no to people because I'm people-pleasing people. And the part of me that understood that, it wasn't conscious, it was subconscious, but it knew that I was putting myself in dangerous situations. Maybe not dangerous as in I was going to cause myself bodily harm, but dangerous in that I'm forcing myself over and over again, to do things that I didn't want to do things that I inherently knew weren't right for me, to do things that didn't feel right for me. And I think a lot of that came from a place when I was growing up when I couldn't really tell my caregivers, my family, what it is that I wanted. I could, but there was no real care or consideration that was taken with my opinion or what it is that I wanted. It was always about what they wanted. And I think that's the difference between good parenting and bad parenting, is if you allow your kids to feel that their opinion matters. And if you grew up in a situation in which you learned that your opinion doesn't matter, you've even taught that to yourself. It's subconscious in you, but it's so ingrained in you that other people matter more than you do. And if you're going to cure your anxiety, that is step number one. Everyone's anxiety is different. Maybe this isn't going to help you, but that was step number one for me, was realizing, wait a second, I don't care about myself. I don't care about myself enough to speak up. I don't care about myself enough to say what it is that I want. I don't care about myself enough to not put myself in dangerous situations just to please another person. And the good thing about that behavior is that it's a learned behavior. I didn't come out of the womb doing that. It was something that my situation taught me. And the good thing about learned behavior is that you can learn your way out of that behavior. So if you're going through a lot of anxiety, I just suggest that you just ask yourself that simple question. Do I trust myself? And if the answer is no, ask yourself why. Dissect that a little bit, go down that road, and then start to figure out, well, how can I start to trust myself more? How can I start to build more security for myself into my life? And you could do it in many different ways depending on the situation. Sometimes it's as simple as not replying to a message right away and allowing yourself to think about what it is that you really want. Because chances are, if you've been doing things for other people for so long, you've probably lost touch with the side of yourself that knows what it wants. And sometimes you have to just give yourself more time to figure that out. Sometimes it's learning how to say no to people in a nice way. Because in some situations, you can't simply say no. As ridiculous as that is, you can't simply say no. If you are at work and they ask you if you could take on a project, and if they ask you if you can be part of a certain team, you can't just straight up look at them and say no. I mean, you can. That's a pretty baller move right there. And if you can do that, man, props to you, because that's awesome. But most people can't. I know that I can't. I know I wouldn't just say no, straight up no, and walk away, right? So sometimes it's really just learning and memorizing specific things to say. Even if it's just, that project sounds really interesting and I'm sure everyone's going to do a great job, but right now I am really busy with A, B, C, and D. It's just simple things that you can sort of cater to your own situation, but that you can memorize to actually help yourself. So if you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, just know that there are things that you can do to get better. It's not going to change overnight, but with persistence, with actually caring about the situation, paying attention to the situation, learning new things, trying new things, you can absolutely make things better. I know that I've certainly been able to do that for myself, literally just from watching YouTube videos, from reading books, from listening to podcasts. It really can help. If you can't get yourself to therapy, if you can't, if you don't have those resources in your life, just make use of whatever resources you have, because you don't have to suffer through it. You can get better. So if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope this helps. Leave a comment below if it does, because I would love to hear your stories. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe so we can see each other again.